Hey, what's up? This is Coach Ryan C, and on this episode, I'm going to tell you how to test for and find your FTP. Okay, so FTP, what does that mean? It stands for Functional Threshold Power, and Andy Coggan came up with this idea in the early 2000s. Basically, it's the amount of power that you can hold for 60 minutes. Once you know how much power you can hold for 60 minutes, you can determine all of your races and workouts, and this will really help you on the bike. So buying a power meter, yes, it's expensive, but I think after the GPS watch, it's probably the one tool that you're going to get that's going to help you improve the most in your triathlon career. The power meter doesn't lie. It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're hungry. It doesn't matter if you've got more energy than you've ever had. It tells you exactly how much force you're putting on the pedals at that exact moment. And the reason why this is important is because in my last video, we talked about heart rate and how it's kind of slow and it takes a while to catch up to how much effort you're putting out. Like if you start running up a hill, it's not going to tell you immediately how much effort you're putting out on that hill. A power meter doesn't take any time to catch up. It tells you immediately how much power you're putting out right then. At the bottom of that hill, or you're going for that sprint, or you're just starting the bike portion of a triathlon, you're gonna know exactly how much power you need to put out. And it doesn't lie to you, it doesn't take any time to catch up, and at this point I feel like I've made that clear. So I'm just going to go into how to test for your FTP. Okay, first of all, like I said earlier, this was developed by Andy Coggan in the early 2000s. Functional Threshold Power, FTP. How much power can you hold for an hour? This test is really easy on paper. It's really hard to do. And the reason why I say that is because you are going flat out as hard as you can. There's no in between. It's as hard as you possibly can. Okay, so how do you do this test? Basically, you need your bike, you need your power meter. There's a lot of different options out there. I'm not going to talk about them. The best place to go is the DC Rainmaker site. He explains tons of them in a lot of detail. There's crank-based power meters, pedal-based power meters. There's power meters that go in your back wheel. You just need to get one. You can also use a software version of a power meter if you have an app like Training Road or Zwift on your computer. If you're doing it outside, you need it to be on an open road. You don't want any stop signs or red lights. Can't have those. Best place to do it if you're going to do it outside is in a place where you know that you can go for 60 minutes or 30 minutes, not have any distractions, not have any stops, not have anyone slow you down, not have to worry about traffic. A race is a really great way to do this, but it has to be like a 60-minute race or a 30-minute race. You don't want to go out and ride for an hour and 40 minutes and then pick out your best 60 minutes. It's not going to work like that. You need to treat this like a race, or it needs to be a race. If you're doing it inside on your trainer, you only want to go 30 minutes. There's really not any point to going longer than the 30-minute test on an indoor trainer. So first things first, warm up 10 to 15 minutes, get the blood flowing, get your legs spinning. You want to have a high turnover rate. You want to be going fast. When you feel like you're ready, or when the race starts, you have your GPS watch or your bike computer, and you hit the lap button, and you start your interval. And if it's a 60-minute or 30 minutes, you're going to go as hard as you can in a sustained way for the whole time. What this means is you're not going to start off and sprint the first half mile and then back it down and just hope that you banked a lot of power at the beginning and let it even itself out at the end. That's not how you do it. The way you want to do it is to have an even and consistent test as much as possible. Most people really fall apart in the end, and that's okay. You just want it to be fairly consistent. And another thing is, if you're outside, you don't want to have a lot of hills on your course, because you're going to spike your power really hard when you go up, and then it's going to drop to probably zero as you coast down, and then you're going to save a lot of energy, and that's not the way the test is supposed to go. The test is supposed to be an even sustained effort for 30 or 60 minutes. And one thing that I wanted to touch on, when you're doing your FTP test, you don't want to be basing your effort on anything other than your power. You don't want to be looking at your speed. You don't want to be looking at your heart rate. Only look at your power. That's really all there is to it. You just go as hard as you possibly can. If you're on the trainer, by the end, you should be going cross-eyed because you're going so hard. Sweat is going to be pouring off of you. Like, you need towels. If you have family or roommates, they need to know that you are not to be interrupted and to not worry about you if you're screaming in pain, because that's how bad it's supposed to hurt. You are supposed to go as hard as you possibly can. If you don't, your results aren't going to be what they should be, and then you're not going to be training throughout the next 4 to 6 weeks, however long you go until you have another test. You're not going to be training right. And that's it. When you're done, you cool down. Make sure you get some water, some calories in you. You need to recover, because this should have drained everything out of you. You should, by the end of the 30 or 60 minutes, you should feel like you could not have gone another minute. So then you're going to take your bike computer or your watch, load it up into your computer, up onto Training Peaks or Strava, and you're going to look at that interval. And you're going to find your average power for that interval. And if you're outside, you don't want it to be your normalized power. You want it to be your average power. That's only important if you're outside. On the trainer, that doesn't matter. It's only going to give you your average power. If it was a race or if it was outside, you want your average power, you want to subtract 5% from that, and that's your FTP. If you're on the trainer, whatever your average power was is your new FTP. It's as simple as that. There's really nothing else to it. So now you know your FTP. What do you do with it? Well, this number is going to determine a lot of how you train for your bike portion of your triathlon over the next couple weeks. It's going to determine how you pace yourself in your race. It's hopefully, if you did your test right and your training right, it'll hopefully allow you to hit that run portion of your triathlon and feel great. I vouch for this. When my training was right and I stuck to the plan, and then I got into the race and I stuck to the plan, you want to hit that run portion with the right amount of energy left so you can do that 5K or half marathon or full marathon. If you're doing an Ironman, you want to hit that run portion with plenty of energy left, the right amount of energy too. You want to have not wasted yourself on the bike, but also not dogged it. You want to hit right where you're supposed to hit. And if you have a power meter and you do this FTP test right, and then you do your training right, you will. It's just, that's how it works. And if you have a power meter and you've done your training right and you pace yourself right on your race, you're gonna hit that run portion and you're gonna feel pretty good. And you're gonna be able to hit your goals on that run. Okay, so that's about it. We talked about what you need to test your FTP. You need a bike, you need a power meter, you need some sort of GPS watch or bike computer to capture the data, or a computer app like TrainerRoad or Zwift, and an indoor bike trainer, so you can do this test inside. And then you just need a day and time where you can really go out and just go as hard as you possibly can. And I'm telling you this, if you finish your FTP test and you still feel like you have some left in the tank, you did it wrong. Like, you really, really should be empty. You should have nothing left when you're done with this. You should squeeze every last watt out of your legs and your heart and lungs. Like, it should be over when that clock hits 60 minutes or 30 minutes. There should be nothing left. I can tell you, if you do that, you'll be so happy, because in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to build your training around what you know now about your FTP. You have this number. It could be 115 or it could be 499. That's your number, and your training is going to be built around the knowledge that you have now about what your FTP is. Then your races are going to be planned around that, and you are going to be in such a good place when you hit race day. You're going to have so much confidence. You're going to know exactly what you need to do on that bike. There's actually a website out there called Best Bike Split that you can upload a race course, and then either you or your coach can go in there, put in your targets, tell it what kind of bike you have, what kind of kit you have, what kind of helmet you have, and what the weather's going to be like on that day. And it will give you exact power targets for the entire race. And that's pretty incredible. So once you have a power meter, and once you test for your FTP, and once you know your FTP, there is so much available to you for training and racing, and it's really going to help you do your best. So if you have a power meter or you have the money, go out and buy one, do your FTP test, and then come back, because on the next video I'm going to talk about how to structure your training around what you know now about your FTP.